Hello and welcome to Cupcakes. In this video I'm going to show you how I created these two hiding babies using a Teddy's chocolate orange. The first thing I did was prepare the chocolate orange, and I did that by popping some chocolate in the microwave and melting it down. Then popping it into a piping bag, and any orange which had loose segments, I left it in the foil and squirted some of that melted chocolate all the way through the centre and just left it to set. I used a prepared chocolate orange. I used some water and small paintbrush, some icing sugar, a pizza cutter, sharp knife and a rolling pin. I've also two star cutters. I weren't sure which size I wanted to use. I've an iced chocolate orange and popped them on a 4-inch cake card, some flesh tone fondant, white, dark and light pink and dark and light blue fondant too. The first thing I did was roll out some white fondant to cover the next chocolate orange. I do roll it quite thick, but I find that this hides any flaws what might be there from the chocolate orange. I said quite thick, it's probably more like 1/2 centimetre. I put a little bit of water on the back of that fondant, place it over the top of the chocolate orange and gently just working my way down, stretching out that fondant and using my hands to smooth it down. Flip it over, and when you've gathered the majority at the base, I just remove the excess with a sharp knife, and then again using my finger and thumbs, just smoothing it and tucking it underneath. The majority of the base will be covered in either the blue or pink or flesh tone, so you want to just pick the smoothest part to be the front. Next, I gave the baby some legs. And I did this by taking that flesh toned fondant and rolling it into a thin strip, tapering it in to one side. When I was happy with the length, I cut it on a diagonal, and this diagonal will just help me be able to tuck it round the side of the chocolate orange. And I stuck that in place using a little bit of water and just playing about with the position until I was happy. Using that flesh tone fondant again, I rolled it into 2 small balls and rolled this into a kidney bean shape just by rolling the centre with my little finger and flattening it out. To make the toes, I rolled out 5 balls, starting from a bigger one to a tiny one, and trying to keep them the same size on each foot. I just attached them with a little bit of water again, and then actually attached the foot onto the leg using a little bit of water, and just played about until I was happy with the positioning. For the pink baby, I wanted that to create the effect of wearing a dress or hiding under a dress. So to do that, I rolled out the dark pink, and taking some of that paler pink, I rolled it into different size balls and just pushed that into the dark fondant. I didn't need to attach it with any water because my fondant was quite tacky. And then once I was happy with how many pink paler dots I had, I gently re-rolled over it with that rolling pin, just pushing the paler fondant into place. Then deciding which edge I wanted to be at the front of the chocolate orange, I cut off a neat strip with that pizza cutter, flipped it over and neatened it off with my little finger. Next, I decided how high up I wanted the dress to actually be, and I did have a little bit of a dint in my chocolate orange, so I definitely wanted to cover that up. I used a little bit of water to attach the dress to the chocolate orange, and just popping that in place. I did end up with a crease at the back, and as you can see, I'll just take that knife, cut off the excess and rub that joint together with my finger and thumb and just try and smooth it out best I can. I'm not too worried because it is at the back, but I did manage to be able to smooth mine off quite well. Then working on the front, I wanted to create a little bit of movement, so just lifting that pink up off that white a little bit and using my finger to manipulate it, pull it up, bend it down, just to create it a little bit of movement. For the blue fondant, I wanted this one to look like a blanket being draped over the baby's bum. So taking that pale fondant, I rolled it out, cut a straight edge, again flipping it over and kneading it off with my fingers, using a little bit of that water to attach it to, and when I was happy with the size, I used the pizza cutter to trim the edges. And instead of smoothing it off at the back this time, I decided to just fold it back in on itself and just use that water to glue down any areas I needed to. Once happy, I took that dark blue fondant, rolled it out, and I decided to use the smaller star cutter. So cutting out a few stars and sticking them in place randomly, using a little bit of water just to help them attach. Just gently pushing them in place with my finger or thumb. And I repeated that all over the pale blue fondant. Then, just to create some movement, I pulled away the blue fondant just over the legs and the white chocolate orange. And that's a boy and a girl hiding baby or baby bum made from a chocolate orange. Thank you very much.